Hello, welcome to For Your Models, kit review time. Today we've got Hobby Boss's brand new 1/48 scale. This is the Russian KA-27 Helix. Now this helicopter, I've actually loved this helicopter for years. Obviously mainstay of the sort of Russian Navy, and I must admit I never thought for a minute we'd ever see a kit of it, or not a mainstream kit. So it's great that Hobby Boss have jumped on with this one. So as you can see, wacky old bird. It's got the sort of coaxial rotor system on this one. And as I say, so that's why you don't sort of get your tail rotor and all your things on here. Russian Navy, basically helicopter, although it is used elsewhere as well. But as I say, something a little bit different. As I say, really good for your collection to have the odd little difference, especially when it's on a rotor system as well. Okay, so generally looking around the box, as you can see, you've got a little bit in your sort of Chinese and your English. Okay, a few little pictures. So your kit number is 81739, and some more on there. And obviously you've got the Russian Navy markings. Going to be about it for this one, I'm afraid. Okay, so say lovely box art as well. Very nice little sewn up. Now I haven't even looked in this box once. Okay, this is brand new to me as well. All right, so we've got the usual thing about what's coming out, and obviously about this one, so we can see some of the little details. So we've got the doors that open, which is quite a nice touch. Looks like very thing, and say this coaxial rotor system. So we'll start in the old instructions. We'll look at that in a moment. So as we can imagine, the usual way with these, we just drop this down just a little bit, just to bring it in. There we go. So parts trees, as we can imagine, we do get, looks like a little bit of photo etch as well, so we do get a bit of photo etch. Okay, and your decals going through. Usual thing with a helicopter, you're going to be starting off with the cabin. So you've got the cabin system going all the way through. Don't forget, this is a anti-submarine helicopter, so you're going to have lots of boxes and all the electronics gear in on this one. So as you can imagine, all of those going through, the cockpit area being finished off, and then the crew being seats going in, the rear bulkhead, and then this quite different rotor system. So the rotor head on this one uses the coax system, which basically means that the bottom blades are going one way, the top blades are going the other way, which means it cancels out the torque. What this means is you get a very big type of rotor head for this one as it goes through, because actually what you've got is two rotor heads, one on top of the other. All right, so as you can see, going right the way through. And then the usual way, you've got the internals going in, the upper bulkhead for all of that going through there. The way that that's got a gear on it, why has that actually got a proper gear? Is that actually going to work? Interesting to see why it's got a cog, a gear, saying no glue either on both of those. I assume they're actually going to physically turn a gear, which does this mean you could poke a motor in it? Be quite interesting. Okay, so that's those going on, being fitted in. And then, oh, we've got a typo obviously in there, and they've actually stuck a label, which is the first time I've seen that actually now says shaft. Okay, lovely. I'd like to see what it said before and peel that off and find it says something completely different. Okay, so obviously you've got that coaxial rotor system going in both heads, and then obviously the engine covers at the front. We've got no engines, a little bit of a shame. Okay, the front end going in, which in some ways is a little bit better. It's not the usual nightmare of a full glass front. Then we've got the door, which we know is a sliding door, so you can have it open or closed. You've got the exhaust systems, some of the lumps and bumps going in there, as you can imagine, and then lots of the lumps and bumps on the outside. Got the filter covers for the intakes and things like that. Lots of grab handles over this bird right the way through. Lots of more handles, lots more grab handles, and lots more vents and covers and all things going down in there. It looks like it's got a cattle prod at the front, and your windscreen wipers going on. More on the other side, as you can imagine. Then more lumps and bumps going all over this one, obviously being a surveillance stroke anti-submarine aircraft. You've got these big horizontal stabilizers going on there on the back. Okay, and then you've got more lumps and bumps, grills and all things. This thing's actually covered in stuff, which is quite nice. Be a lovely little bit of detail there. The unusual four or quad wheel system down on this one as well. Okay, and then generally pretty straightforward. It doesn't look like any of that's a real problem. Okay, and then we got the blade system itself, fitting those on, so sticking on the lower blades, and it looks like you do get a lock, so you can lock the blades down. Okay, so they'll actually lock in, or is it they just hang there? No, I think they actually just hang there. Perhaps they're actually the stabilizers. The way it looked like they locked in and locked in, but they don't. It's actually just obviously the counterbalance system to it for the lower blades. All right, so that's those going on right the way through. So actually, straightforward build by the looks of it. Here it is in all its beauty. As I say, quite nice colour. They're giving out your standard sort of Mr. Hobby colours. I would check those, because obviously being Russian colours, probably not. Okay, but generally, as you can see, it's a sweet looking bee, wasp. Bumblebee, whatever you want to call it. As I say, some nice markings on those as well. So you've got the Ukraine one down here as well as the Russian. So you can do the Russian one or the Ukrainian one. Okay, just down in there. Probably looks nicer actually. I don't know actually. I thought the Russian one was better, but looking at it, I do like Ukrainian markings. They are something about those. So, kit itself. Trusty thing. So, all separate bags, as we know. Hobby Boss recently really been very good with their stuff. So, as you can see, it's actually quite a large lump. Don't forget, this isn't 1/35, this is actually 1/48. It's quite a large helicopter. It doesn't look it, but it actually is. Generally, some very nice surface details all over this one. If I just zoom in the side cam as well, so we can all get a good look down in here. But generally, looking over it, you can see we've got some very nice details. Some nice recessed and raised details running all over this. The plastic feels sharper than normal. Hobby Boss's plastic tends to be a little bit soft, shall we say. This isn't. This is more reminiscent to me, you probably hear it by the sound of it, to be in like Hasegawa's plastic. It's very polished molds and everything else. That's not to say it hasn't got the odd problem. We've got a tiny little guy just down in here, but probably just needs a blade down there. But generally very nice. No detail on the inside, as you can imagine. We've got no sink marks in the plastic or anything else like that. Actually looks really, really nice. I can't see any problems with that at all. But lovely level of detail on that fuselage. Then we might as well just work these through. Okay, so then we've got down here, this is for the electronics on the inside. So these are all those racks that we've actually got all over this one. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the boxes. Yeah, the detail isn't massive, but it's going to be internal and you're never going to see it. There's no real ejector pin marks, they're all on the inside. You've got a little bit of flashing around the ejector pins. Again, you'd want to watch this one. This is the door, so just make sure they're out of the way. But generally, all the rest of it looks to be very nice. No problem with any of that at all. Okay, even the screw gates look quite small. So we've got the horizontal stabilizers just down here. Again, nice level of detail, nice raised and recessed things for the access ports and stuff like that all over this one. Generally very, very nice. I can't see a problem with any of this whatsoever. Does look nice. No blemishes, no flash anywhere, even on these very small parts running around here. They are all absolutely exquisite. Generally very nice. Yeah, I can't see a problem with any of that. One piece moulded ones, these ones are very nice. Got no ejector pins on those as well, which is a nice touch. Yeah, I have to say. So, cabin floor. And some more cabin details, which this is a nice touch up here. The close up might get that a bit better. You can see it probably as well here. But the actual overhead panel, full of detail, full of switches and all the bits and pieces. And let's face it, the Russians love all of that. Okay, center consoles, things like that. Again, lots of detail. You know, it's not massive, but it will take a wash beautifully. A little bit of dry brushing would be fantastic. Control grips are all very nice as well. Again, no sign of flash. Any problems with it? Yeah, I've got little marks on ejector pins, but I say they're all the ones that are out the way. Okay, there's no detail on the cabin floor as such, or on the roof, which would have been nice to have some insulation and silencing stuff up there. But generally, that's pretty nice. No problem with those. Okay, the business end. So obviously you've got all the small parts and everything else down here like this. So again, looking for mismolds and sort of, you know, flashy bits. Really, as we were saying about recently, Hobby Boss really stepped up because their stuff is absolutely exquisite now. No problem. We've got no flash on any of these parts that I can see running around all of this. Absolutely looks fine. No problems at all. Very nicely done. Some very nice detail here. The burring is minimal as well. When we say the burring, it's the two laps coming together. You often get a seam line on some of the smaller parts. Got no real burring at all on mine, which is lovely. Complete with the cattle prop. Okay, so we'll look at that last, I think. I'll do that there. So in here we've got the seats and the wheels. I'm assuming that's just a match pair, which it is. So we've got the seats, so we've got a little bit of detail, got a seam line running through it, things like that. Nothing really to shout home about, but the cushions themselves got a little bit of texture into those, that's good. Two-piece wheels, which is fair enough. Hubs look quite nice, they're raised slightly, so it'd be easy to do a thing. The grab handles are all very nice on this as well, no problem with that. And everything else looks good. And then what do we got? Okay, I'm hoping these have got some rotor sag put in after the live show this week where somebody asked. And I was thinking, I'm doing a review of a helicopter in a minute. It's bound not to have it. Oh, it does, good. Okay, this is what we're talking about. So you've got recessed detail on the blades, which is a nice touch. That's fantastic. And then obviously the rotor head parts themselves looking pretty good. We've got these weights for the lower rotor system. Stop it riding up. That's fantastic. Beautiful stuff on that, no problem at all. And then as you can see, probably be that way around, see how the blades are hanging down? This is because we put it on the board here. If we get it on the camera, that's it. If we do blue line, there we go. If we put that on the line, hopefully you can see that's the sag you're getting. Okay, so they are going to naturally hang down just like that, all right? We do it in here, you can see it as well. There we go. So you can see it how it is. So you don't have to bend them over your thigh like we were saying on the live show. This one's already got them molded in, which is quite a nice touch. Unless you're doing in flight, and then you have to bend them the other way. Put them on upside down, you'll be fine. And so there we go. Very nicely done on those. Okay, so we've got the clear parts. So, mainstay of Hobby Boss, they've done from day one, I do believe, is to actually protect their clear parts, which is absolutely lovely because their clear parts are beautifully done these days. And as you can see straight off the bat, that's actually not bad. That's a complex curve in there, but it is actually pretty clear. You're going to get the wobble because it's just because the shape of it is, all right, but generally very nice. But I'm glad they've elected to do a one piece instead of having this with a plastic bit down the bottom and then put the sides in, because that would just be a nightmare. Okay, and the same, we've got the nice bubbled or bulged, as you can see, doors on the side, which are, you can have open or closed, so you've got some nice details on there as well, and the little side windows, so they're very nice. Okay, tiny little bit of photo etch, so we've got some little grills there, which is a nice touch for this one. As you can see, nothing fancy, but it does make a world of difference. The shaft, as we spoke about, so you actually get it's actually not round, it's a hex shaft for the rotor head, which I haven't seen that before, especially on a 148 scale helicopter. So that's quite a nice touch. So you do get a shaft. And then last up, we've got the decals. So in here we have, again, very nicely protected. That's what we like to see. We do have the decal sheet. So we've got the Russian markings and obviously the Ukrainian ones. This is a little bit glossy, and you probably see them in here. They are a little bit glossy. You're going to need a good old flat coat over the top of these to knock these back a bit, but generally they look a little bit thick as well. Perhaps a little bit of a weak spot in this kit, but I think they go down all right. Get the old micro set and sole with some X20A on there, be absolutely fine. As I say, if you want to do, you've got the instrument panels as well. So we've got the instrument panel, the overhead panel. If you wanted to do, stick that over the top, getting it to conform would be a nightmare, but you could do it that way if you wanted to. So generally, I have to say, very nice touches. So there we go. If you want something a little bit different, perhaps you haven't got anything with a sort of coaxial rotor system in your collection, then perhaps this is the helicopter for you. But I would highly recommend this one. It looks a great helicopter and I'd love to build it myself. So there we go. That is Hobby Boss's 148 scale KA27 Helix.